You guys get down there, there'll be several pieces of equipment that aren't demonstrated and out from noisy, just a fair warning. There's no steps or ladders to climb up. There's rail car track just like this here. It's easy for y'all just to walk in between them. Tour guide today is Lee. He's a retired miner from the Leadville area over there, Leadville district. Worked at Climax Mines for a number of years. He's real knowledgeable about mining, so don't hesitate to ask him any questions. Do you guys enjoy your tour?
I'd mark my holes on the walls like these guys have already got some back in this little drift. How we do that, and find me a hole. I'd actually start it out here. Got me one started here already. I turn that a quarter of a turn, and probably do that for 8 hours on my shift, the whole shift. What I was doing was single jacking. These guys are actually double jacking. This guy's called a striker, that guy's called a shaker. There's probably a good reason why he's called a shaker, because this is all the lights they had when they started working down here.
Oh, Lord.
They had candles and oil lamps. Now at the turn of the century, they started using these other lamps called a carbide lamp. Put carbide crystals in the bottom, water at the top. You could actually drip water down on that carbide, which would release the acetylene gases in it. And this is the effect we have. I'll get a lid. Come on, there you go. Now the reason why they switched over to these carbide lights, they burn 50% less oxygen than a candle would. So that meant a lot, because this is the only area they really had to work with. This has all been chipped out for our convenience. So this is what it would look like if we had a carbide light and was working down here. This is what we'd have to work with. Not a lot of light, but they say this is more equivalent to the sun, so it gives them a little bit brighter light. If we were miners today, none of these overhead lights would be on. We just have our wheat lamps.
Even today?
Yes, today. We just have these mounted right here, so we can see where it's going. Now, keep this in mind as we're going down through this crosscut. These miners in a 24-hour period were maybe being able to take one. I might be able to get a foot drilling with my hand drill. These guys could maybe get up to 2 feet. So that'd be 6 feet of this rock in a 24-hour period. So if you'll follow me, we'll go down this way. Just to load these ore carts up, he was required to load 4 of these an hour, so in his 8-hour shift he had to load 32 of them. Now these guys didn't last too long. Jack Dempsey was originally from Victor, Colorado, which is only like 6 miles from here. He was a heavyweight champion. He actually worked at the Portland. After 2 weeks they fired him because he couldn't keep up. Now they probably had 30 other men waiting outside the gate to actually take his job. Each miner in this, they call this the $3 camp. Each miner got paid about $3 a day. Today's standards, that's about $150 to $200 a day. So that's good money. It's worth risking your life anyway. This is a B12 rocket, or this is a B12 bucket mucker. You can see the tracks are on the floor. This is a crosscut from the Gold King. So the Gold King was actually transporting their ore over to our skip and taking it out of here. This replaced this guy back here with the mucker, with the shovel. A good operator could actually load this ore car up in a minute. I'm going to give you a simulation of how it would work. Cripple Creek was very fortunate. At the turn of the century, they had electricity here. San Francisco was one of the first places in the country to get it. Cripple Creek had like second. So everything is run off of air power down here, so I'm going to simulate running into this rock pile and then bringing it back and dumping it. But if we were to actually start mining down here, we could actually run this on the tracks, take it wherever we wanted to, and start loading rock up.
And start to what? The
Loading rock up, loading this rock
Oh,
in heavy
okay.
piles. We could still use this today. Anybody got any questions?
They have much trouble with leaking down here?
You mean for water?
Right, you can see it dripping.
Yeah, we had about 120 inches of snow this year. So a lot of that surface water's finally getting down to this level. I haven't seen it this wet right in this area for a long time.
Right.
So it's just coming through the crevices.
Did they have to worry about that when they were down there mining? Or did they have some kind of water pump or something to get it out?
Now, in this mine, we only are 1,000 feet down.
Right.
The Portland mine actually went down 3,200 feet. They had a big time problem.
They did.
They actually, at one time, they couldn't keep up with the water because it kept flooding out whatever their areas they were working with. The way they solved that problem, they came out on the shelf road.
Right.
Now, you got to think about this. This is like in the 30s when they put this in. All they had was transits. They ran a tunnel 7 miles under this mine and came in within like 3 feet off of it to drain all that groundwater off.
Wow.
So if you actually go down to the shelf road, you can actually still see the old Carlton Tunnel, and you can still see the groundwater coming out. It's pretty amazing. Okay, if you'll follow me.
Why when you're mining, don't they light the mine like this, when you're actually mining? Is it just too expensive, or?
Well, it's just because you get so much dust and so much rock, especially when they're like blasting and stuff. Probably just keep the light bulbs knocked out all the time.
Okay.
And then, like when I worked up at Leadville, there was times you couldn't even see your feet, you know, so what's the reason for having lights? But at the turn of the century,
Okay, lift a little.
trains, in 1893, the first train actually was built up here from Cripple Creek, from Florence. They started bringing heavy equipment up. Now this is called a liner drill. This replaced all the hand drilling, which was really a nice thing for the miners because they didn't have to deal with doing all by hand. They also call this a column drill. We can set this up on a column. This drill can actually be moved up and down on this column and in and out on this bar, enabling me to drill my holes up high, low. Usually took 2 miners to operate this, it's pretty heavy. Now when George first invented this, they sent it out here. This was a dry drill. And it enabled me to go 6 feet into the face of that rock to drill a hole. The problem with that was I had all that granite dust floating all around. I'm breathing that in all day long. A lot of the miners died from silicosis of the lungs. So they sent it back to George. He put a water jacket on it. This enabled the drill bit itself to actually have water forced through it to knock all that granite dust down. I'm going to give you a demonstration on what this would sound like if we were going to be miners. If your ears are a little sensitive, you might want to hang on to them. That's the effect we would get. A lot of people ask me, do you think they used earplugs? They didn't, they went deaf. They probably used beeswax. Now what we do is if we set this column drill up, we'd want to have a series of holes so we could blast the face of this rock off. What we have here is I'm going to go through each one of them. We have a relief hole. You can see there's no dynamite in that. That gives a place for the rock to actually relieve itself. This area right here is going to be our first shot. This is a burn. Our second one's going to be a box. Our ribs are going to be the third. Our backs is fourth, and our lifters is the fifth. So we're going to listen for 5 shots when we light this fuse. The lifters are actually drilled at a 30-degree angle. The reason for that is to actually lift all this rock up on the 5th shot and just lay it right down here on the floor. Now we're not trying to blow this out of here. We're actually just trying to fracture this rock so we can actually pick it up. Dynamite was first used here. Alfred Noble played around with the idea about 1850, but this stuff had a couple problems with it. If you handled it, the nitro would actually leach through your skin. If you weren't wearing gloves, it'd give you a super migraine headache. So they had to be very careful handling it. Another problem is it doesn't work well and it freezes up about 50 to 53 degrees. The average temperature down here is about 47 to 50. So how they remedied this, they actually had their powder house upstairs. They'd make sure they had enough dynamite to actually shoot their face. They'd warm it up by the wood burner. They had little trays. They'd actually warm this up to about 70 degrees. Hurry up, bring it down here and load their holes. Now we've got 4 sticks of dynamite to each one of these 6-foot holes. We'd ram it in there. We'd actually put our fuses on the outside, light our fuse. Now our fuse is nothing but sulfur and gunpowder. These were very dangerous times when you're dealing with this because it's very highly unstable. So when the miners first started coming down here, this is very dangerous work. Now what we do is we light this fuse and we have about 5 minutes to get out of here. It's nothing more than a big firecracker. So if you come around the corner here, I'll show you how we actually blast today and what we use. What we use is, instead of dynamite, we use Amphimix. Now everybody's heard of the Oklahoma City Federal building that got bombed. This is pretty much what what's his name used. This is ammonium nitrate and a 6% diesel fuel mixture. It's very safe to handle. It will not go off unless you put a blasting cap to it, and it is very highly explosive. But the way we do it, we would take our jack leg here. This is a one-man operation instead of a two-man. This is actually run off of air pressure. This cylinder will actually extend out with air pressure on it. This enables me to actually drop that down in there and actually lift this up and drill my holes wherever I need it. It's a very dangerous piece of equipment to run. Now what we do here is we still have our patterns of holes. We have our relief, our burn, our box, our ribs, our back, and lifters. So what we do once we get our holes drilled back 6 feet, we'll take 1/3 stick of dynamite, stick a detonating cap in it. That's attached to a shock cord. What we do is we ram that back in there very gently, not to rip that detonating cord out of our stick of dynamite. And then we fill these holes with Amphimix. And how we do that is we got a hopper. We actually blow it in there with air pressure. Now these purple, you can see the pink. If we were actually going to shoot this, we'd lead that back about 12 inches. What we do then is we attach our shock cord, which burns about 6,400 feet per second, to our detonating cord, which burns about 25,000 feet per second. So, and this is all attached to a safety fuse that I can light with my lighter. That burns about 1 foot per minute. We've got 3 feet on this fuse, so we'd have 3 minutes to get out of here. Now, I'm going to give you a simulation of what it might sound like when we get down at the end of this drift. But you can see they're numbered. We're going to listen for 5 shots. Now, when this go off, it would actually sound like an automatic rifle. It'd just go boom, 5 shots. And there would be a shock wave going down through here and just probably almost knock us over. So if there's no questions, anybody got any questions? I'm going to simulate lighting this, and we'll just walk away. So we got 3 minutes to get out of here.
Okay.
You can actually put a little bit on your finger and taste it. It's very salty. Actually, it just leaches through the ground here. It actually crystallizes.
So you would have to get this 3 minutes out of there in the dark.
Yeah, pretty much. If we got around down here a little bit farther down, we wouldn't at least have any rocks trying to get us. But there'd be a shock wave that comes through this cross cut, probably almost knock us off our feet.
So you want to get far enough away and get out of the line of the blast.
Right. The most important thing is just not be around where the rocks could actually fly down. We've actually improved this mine about 92. Some of the guys were using that Amphimix, and they were probably a couple 100 feet back, and they said it went off, sent a shock wave down the drift that just hit you like that, and they had this one rock. They don't even know where it came from. It just come bouncing by them. They were probably a couple 100 feet away. Now, we all think of the gold as Alaska gold, California gold, jewelry we wear. You know, it's all nice gold color. The way it runs in this district, it runs into telluride. So once they was going through these tunnels or these drifts here, they actually found this little seam. Now this seam was a very good indicator that there might be something here, so they started chasing it. This is called a stope. Millions of years ago, with the volcanic activity we had in this area, everything flowed from the bottom up. So if you find a seam, you're going to have to chase it up. This rock right here, it's got this purple fluorite. It's a mineral. This is a good indicator of gold. As you can see it, it's right there on the face of that wall.
Wow.
So what they did, they started chasing this. This didn't open up into anything they wanted, so they actually quit chasing it. But you can see here, there's a ladder. The men would actually climb up there, drag their drills up there, and they'd let gravity drop this rock on the floor. Now this machine here is called a slusher. We could actually bring our bucket mucker down here with our ore carts and start loading this up right now. If I was working in the mine and my supervisor said, Lee, you're gonna run the slusher today, my job would be, if there was a bigger pile of rock here, each time that bucket mucker would take it out, I'd actually drag this right out. Now in Climax, we still use these to bring the ore so we can load it up on the bucket muckers. Now I'm gonna give you a demonstration. It's nothing more than a drag line. But it's a lot better than shoveling.
Oh, yeah.
So keep this in mind. I'm going to show you another stope down here, the one that actually made Molly millions. These were very dangerous to work. You can see the men actually had to just work off their planks. So if you weren't paying attention, you might step off your plank and down you come. Or get the air hose from the drill wrapped around your feet. If the drill came out, you came with it. But keep this in mind. I'll show you another one down, actually Epsom salt leaching through.
Oh, okay.
Now when we get down here a little bit more, you'll start seeing a rusty color on the sides of the walls with the Epsom salt. That's iron ore.
Okay.
It's actually rust in the sides of the rocks. So once it hits this air, it crystallizes. So, yeah, with those carbide lights.
So, who actually would do the planks?
Probably the guys, the drillers, as they chase this up, they'd actually put little notches in them, and they'd start, they actually could work off those planks. That's how they got over this area. They could get up in here and lay their plank on there, on those cross beams. So they just work it up, just keep working it up.
Okay, so you put the cross beams in the middle, put the planks across, and...
Right, once they got up high enough that they could work. So these are probably, some of these probably were down here lower when they first started. They just kept raising them up. But keep this in mind, I've got another vein I'm going to show you when we get up to the display room. Now that fuse I lit should be going off pretty soon, so we'll just mosey down here. But this is going to give you a demonstration of what it would sound like if we were to count those shots going off. We can get the best effect about right here. So here we go. We want to count them once that fuse hits that dynamite. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'd start 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. Then that last round didn't go off. That last shot. So it's very dangerous right down there because we know we got dynamite that's not went off. We don't know if the fuses are still burning or if it's just smoldering. So we wait 20 minutes, then send the newest guy down there to check it out. We're leaching through. It's really pretty down around this corner down here. Actually just rusting the rocks.
He's a science teacher.
You want to put some light on it, or anything?
Yes, sir. Can you start?
We saw some yellow. Epsom salt?
Yeah.
It's soaking it now.
Thank you.
All right. Picture back in there, we've got some neat stalactites and stalagmites.
So you got limestone down here too then?
No,
Does it take that to
just
make
mostly
those?
granite.
I didn't know you could make stalactites and such. Oh my goodness!
If
Is
you
that out
walk,
of
if
the
you actually
iron?
kind of go around the ore cart there, you'll see some coming off the floor. They're really neat. They haven't been disturbed for like 60 years.
Was that the
last time this mine was in
production?
1961.
Now,
Yeah.
are these made out of the
They shut it down
salts?
because the mill that they had all the
Oh, yeah.
process that went out of business. So everybody that was actually in the district, it was all shut down. They didn't have any place to take their ore. So that's about when it, they actually still had 50 men working down here in 1961.
So what did that mean?
They took out, they say they can't account for everything they took out of the mine. But they said around $5 million they took out of this mine when gold prices were only $20 an ounce.
Right.
And they said they only got 20% of it, so it's still mineable.
Right, but there's just no place to process it.
Yeah, we'd have to take it all the way to British Columbia or out to California just to have it processed.
Wow.
That's how expensive it would be. Plus they probably get 1 ounce per ton,
Right.
plus a percentage, and then it's cost so much to actually, just to ship it there.
Is that why they just use leach fields now?
Yeah, the way they do it up here now is they're
Right.
just leaching it all out.
Well, we're from Casper, Wyoming, and they're opening up the uranium mines back up
Oh,
there.
yeah, it's
But what they're doing up there is the same thing. They're doing in situ leach fields.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, digging it out and sending it to a processing plant, turning it into yellow cake.
Now, here they can use cyanide
Right.
to leach out the microscopic gold,
Right,
but I'll show you down here at a display case, the gold is actually called calaverite, and
right.
it comes in crystals, so it gives more of a silver appearance than you would have the gold, but if we were to heat that up to about 1700 degrees, we could melt that calaverite off there, or it's called tellurium,
Right.
and then we'd have our pure gold. Now, if I was mining, I still kind of play around with the idea, but I just have a furnace and heat it up. You know, I just
Right.
play around a little
Sure.
bit with it. I'm not making any big bucks or nothing. But now this back in here is a chute. Now these miners, when they got to this area, they probably found another vein of that fluorite. Now if I was running a slusher, I could actually, what my job would be is to keep this chute full. There'd be another miner down here loading this ore cart up, and there'd be other miners actually pushing it around the corner, taking it to the skip and taking it on up. If you'll follow me,
Do you remember, what was that road down there? That they had all the, uranium down towards Medicine Bowl? You don't remember that?
Are they using cyanide to leach it out?
I have no idea.
Probably a different solution, but they're
Right.
the same kind of method.
Before, for the longest time, when uranium was up there, they'd bring it out and turn it into yellow cake through the processing.
Uh-huh.
But they're figuring it's easier way to do this. You don't have to worry about the others
Yeah,
or anything
no.
else.
Wow.
If you're in town in Cripple Creek or Victor area, you'll see all these big piles of rock that are actually up to the east of us. What they're doing is leaching that out. They said if they closed the mine down today, those leach pads would still be in operation 30 years from now. They could still be leaching gold out of them. Now what we have here is a stope drill. I showed you a stope. If we found a gold vein, we'd start chasing it up. This is what we'd use. Now this isn't run off of air power. We do have a hole through the middle of the drill that forces water up there to knock all that dust down, but if I was running this all day, I'd have all that water coming down on me. Now this was the first original stope drill that they brought down here. This is not even a drill, it's a hammer drill. So this bit would just go up and down. If I was running this and putting it in the rock, I'd want to make sure I didn't get it bound up. They call it a wiggler. But then it was a dry drill, so I'd have all that dust coming down on me and breathing that in. I can't imagine that. But that's the way they started out here. Now, I'm going to give you a demonstration of how this works. I'll put air to it. This actually has a cylinder that'll raise this up for me. I don't even have to do anything except run this trigger. So I'll get it up there where I want it. Start drilling. These are also known as widowmakers. You can see the reason why. It's just like being a logger out in Oregon. You cut that one tree down, you don't see that one limb, it's hanging up there and it comes crashing down on you. It's the same kind of principle. Once they fracture this rock with dynamite, you might have that one loose one that you're not paying attention to, and that's the one that'll get you. Now, people ask me all the time, would this whole thing collapse? No, it wouldn't. It'd be that one rock or maybe 2 or 3 of them that get you. So a lot of wives were left widows because of this, and this is what they named it. If you'll follow me right down here, I'll show you how Molly made all of her millions. You guys can come right up here in front, right up here so you can get a better view of it. There you go. Now this is called the Queen Bess Stope. It starts down here on the 10th level. It actually probably runs down below us. They just never chased it. But this goes up 600 feet. Now you can see how wide this gold vein was. We don't know how much gold they took out of it, but on the 4th level, there's a room up there that opens up to over 150 foot wide, 40 foot high. When gold prices were $20 an ounce, they took $2 million worth of gold out of that 4th level in 2 years. So this is what made Molly her fortune right here. As you can see, it's a 70-degree angle. This man ladder used to come all the way to the floor, so if I was coming to work or getting off work, I could actually climb down here. This winch would actually bring up, haul up tools, like drills, timbers, whatever they needed. You can see the miner on the plank there. He's got a column drill. It's drilling into the side there, the ribs. There used to be also a big wooden chute that was in this area. Now once they blasted that rock, that gravity would actually bring that rock down and put it right in the chute. They had ore carts down here so they could just load it up and push it on out. But this is how she made her millions right here.
She has a question.
Sure.
Why in different places in here is there a different color rock?
Oh, you mean like the reds and the white and the greens? Actually, that's just mineral that's leaching through. See this groundwater that's coming off the face here? Now that's coming up from the surface. It actually hits the floor and it just keeps on going. So there's another hollow spot below us, but this was really running good here about 2 months ago. That's probably about 4 inches wide. But that's why you get, you know, like this, it just mineralizing. You can see some little stalactites there. You can see the copper, the green, and there's rust. That's actually just rust. Oh, there's a neat one.
That is a neat one. Now, those are made of the salts or just actually other minerals too?
Actually other minerals, like behind you here on that face right there. There's copper. That's a very good indicator because copper there's not enough of it to mine here, but it does run with these veins. The guys down in Cripple Creek working for the city ran into a vein, and my brother-in-law works for me, brought me some really neat rocks home. You can see the copper in them. There was a little bit of gold in it, but he couldn't keep it too much of it, but he got me a specimen of it. But that's where that color comes from.
So Molly had to know something then. When she hit that vein, it wasn't like a piece of gold was shining at her. She knew which minerals meant.
Actually, it was a piece of gold shining at me.
Really?
Yeah, it was a quartz outcropping, and quartz outcroppings are very rare in this area. But the way she discovered gold there, she was from Iowa. She came out here with her husband, and she had a brother that was doing surveying up here when they first discovered gold. She came up, she'd never seen elk before, and there was a herd of elk right up there by the gift shop. She climbed up there, found that outcropping of gold, and staked a claim. So that's how that got started.
How much did she finally make?
Well, they said there was like $5 million taken out of this mine.
Okay.
So it made her a millionaire. We really don't know how much they actually took. I could see if this went up 600 feet, they probably got more than $5 million. Okay, if you all find a place to set on the tram, we'll go for, we'll just act like we're miners and we know what we're doing.
Connie, right here.
My great-grandfather actually worked in these mines back in the 20s.
These ones.
He came out a couple guys from Cripple Creek, old miners, got together, started thinking about which way, can we go? I'm tired of pushing the ore carts. So they actually came up with this. This was manufactured and produced right here in Cripple Creek, right across from the Double Eagle Casino down there in the Wild West Casino. That used to be a machine shop. Now when we get up here, this is going to be a very good learning experience because there's no lights. This is what it would be like if we were miners and actually going through these tunnels. So it's very tight. So please keep your hands and your feet inside the cages, and whatever you do, don't stand up. Okay, and we'll get going.
thoughts on this. Are we getting look?
Yeah. What's your set? You need his help?
All right, so if I can get everybody to stand back, I'm going to send it on its way. What we came down was a crosscut. A crosscut was a way to get from one mine to the other. You can see that's called a black diamond. The black diamond mine actually lies north of the parking lot. What they did was they made an agreement with the black diamond to actually haul their ore through here and haul it out on our skip. All these tunnels, well, there's some people call them tunnels, but they're drifts, crosscuts, and shafts. Before they started strip mining here, we could actually start from this point and actually walk 7 miles to Victor underground. Now all these crosscuts and shafts and drifts totaled up are 2,500 miles of these. We could go from Kansas City all the way to San Francisco underground with one tunnel.
You're kidding.
So what we have here, we're on the 10th level. There's 5 levels to this mine. What they do where all these crosscuts and drifts would actually end up, they put a tool room. Say if I broke my handle on my shovel or something, I could bring it down here and get it fixed. Now right around the corner here, this was something they remodeled in '92. The old miners missed this vein of gold, so if you look up, you'll see the fluorite, you'll see the grayish material, you'll actually see some sparkles. That could be a little bit of gold with fool's gold. But when they extended this out, they drilled this and blasted it. This big rock fell out and exposed this. So this is how close the old miners were to this another vein of gold, and they didn't even know it. So we don't know what's actually behind, you know, if we could go 10 feet in here. Sometimes I wish I had Superman X-ray so I could just see what was behind this rock. But this is what they would chase. I think this assayed out to about 3 ounces to the ton. So that's still over $2,000 to one of those ore carts. Now, the old timers were actually after the gold that was worth 100 ounces or more to the ton. That's what they were after. But this is another example of just how close they were. Well, just come in here and everybody can browse around for a little bit and read the articles and look at the pictures. We keep this locked up because I told you we could get from one mine to the other. And there are a few independent guys in the area, so we like to keep it locked. Here's a picture of Molly over here. This is what she looked like. Molly was the first woman in this district to have a mining claim. A lot of the miners would not let women even in a mine because they were very superstitious. Now she just didn't go down to the mining claims office and get a claim. She had to fight for it. She had to get a lawyer. She knew through her brother some people. And they actually did submit her a mining claim for this mine. Now this mine is 10 acres big, so it's a pretty good sized mine. Now we're right up here, right at the top. That's where Molly seen on her to elk, and that's where she discovered gold. Now this mine down here to the left, the Gold King mine, Bob Womack was the first man to discover gold up here. He used to work up here with his dad as a ranch hand. Right where Cripple Creek is now is where they had their ranch home. He discovered gold here. It assayed out to about 10 ounces to the ton. That was a bonanza back then. That meant each one of those ore carts was worth $200 in 1890. That was a lot of money. Now this is called Poverty Gulch. This is where it all happened. Right here in Poverty Gulch. Now Spencer Penrose, this is a picture of Spencer. He actually came out here from the East Coast. And he didn't have enough money to start his claim, so he actually wrote his brother a letter, said, let me borrow 150 bucks. So he sent him 150 bucks. Within a very short time, he struck it rich here at the COD mine and cut his brother a check for $10,000 and sent it back to him.
Wow.
Now, this guy down here on the end, he discovered gold about the same time Molly and Bob and all these guys got going, but his mine's over in Victor. It's a historical marker right now. You can actually still see the head frame and the mine. You can actually walk up to it. It's pretty neat. But this guy was the first millionaire up here in this district. Within 9 years, he ended up selling this mine of his, they called the Independence, to a London-based mining company for $11 million in 1899. When he died in 1912, he was worth over $150 million in assets and cash. He was another Donald Trump today. Now the Crescent mine, everybody's wanting to know what high grade looks like. Right here's a piece of it. This actually came out of a vug. You can see it's got a lot of kind of a silvery, goldish metal looking color to it. Now that silver is called tellurium. If we were to find high grade up here, this is what it would look like. These are called calaverite crystals. You can see the little bars running through them. So if you actually find a rock with some bars and it's silvery, don't throw it away, keep it. The Crescent mine was a very independent mine, and they actually hired a lot of men to work here. They got into a vug, so they were drilling and blasting through a drift. They actually got into a room like this. Now how that was formed was that gases got trapped from the volcanic periods and then dissipated. They took out $1.2 million worth of gold out of this one room that's a little bit bigger than this. They said the gold was so thick they just scraped it off the walls. This is part of it right here. Actually, this rock came out of that vug. But gold was only like $20 an ounce. So each one of those ore carts, they had like 4,000 ounces to the ton. That's all I need to do is find one of those today. A Portland mine and the Ajax mine, we were talking about water being in the ground. So if we were to go any deeper, we'd probably have a problem. If we went 500 to 1,000 feet deeper, we'd have a problem here with water. Now this mine was only on 1/10 of an acre, so they couldn't expand out. They had to go straight down. So they went down like 3,300 feet. Now the Carlton Tunnel is how they fixed that problem with the water. Like I said, they went in 7 miles with a transit and actually came up underneath these two mines, the Portland and the Ajax. Now this was the richest mine in the district. At one time, they employed over 500 men to work in this mine. This mine was still in operation until 1980s. Now, this mine, I've been told by old miners in the district that they pulled more gold out of this one mine than they ever did the Alaska or California gold rush. Wow. So that's how rich it was. Now, there was 500 active mines in this district in 1912.
If gold reaches a certain dollar per ounce, will these mines be workable again?
Yeah, it would be nice to think that, but the way they've done with the strip mining, they've ruined a lot of it. Actually, the Crescent mine is not even there anymore. If you go up to the American Eagle mine and you can overlook all this, what's left of this is a big hole in the ground. But this was a very rich mine. Now the Portland mine is still over there, the head frames and everything. But since they've done all this blasting, they've actually collapsed the shaft on this. So they'll never ever be able to get back down in there. I wish they'd hard rock instead of stripping it, you know, because they're supposed to reclaim it all, but, you know, I probably won't be around when they do that. Okay, everybody put it in a sock, crushed it down to powder, and put it in my gold pan. And actually, there was some metal in it. You'll get some fool's gold. There's a pretty nice piece. Here's another nice one. It took me for years to figure out, you know, what's fool's gold, what's calaverite. Finally, I got it down. I got it down to a science.
You're able to see the difference?
Yeah. Actually, if you get it where you can't get any light on it and it flashes you, that's a little piece of tellurium. So that means there's a little bit of gold in it. Here's another nice piece for somebody.
Thank you.
Ooh, yeah, I had that one spotted. Oh, here's another one with a piece of fluoride. Where'd it go?
That'll be your tuition.
Right there. Somebody want a piece of fluoride?
There you go.
That's, if you take them home and wash them, the water will actually hide the fool's gold. And if you see a little flash with it wet, that's actually a piece of tellurium. All right. Everybody get a piece, or does somebody?
Yeah.
Everybody got one? Okay.
Do you find these nodes very much?
Not around this area, but down like in New Mexico.
Yeah,
You can find quite a few of them down there.
yeah. Up there around Casper, there's still a pen.
Now, the mine that's still actively producing gold here, they have their own mill. They can do it all up here. That's why they don't have any overpriced expense for their hauling it out or nothing. What this is here is called a sink bucket. Now, the shaft that we came down on a skip, if we were to sink a shaft here, this is how we'd get the ore out of a shaft. This is original to this mine, and there's a couple independent miners that are still working up here. They're actually reclaiming these old shafts, and they're still using this method to actually pull the rock out and get it out of their shafts. I'm going to give you a demonstration. I'll just bring this up, and I'm going to pretend just I'll have a load on there, and I'll just dump it in that ore cart.
Hold yours.
Shafts in, our two shafts. The original shaft where Molly discovered gold is like only 150 foot deep. They ran out of gold there, and they actually moved over to where we came down. But this is how they would do it. Now this up above us here, you can see this goes straight up. This is called the Molly stope. This goes up 80 feet. We don't know how much gold they took out of this, but you can see just how dangerous it would be to actually work up there off of a plank. They said on an average before, when these mines were very new, they said some of the bigger mines like the Portland, on an average 5 to 6 men were dying a day in these mines, just because it was so dangerous. Now when I worked at Leadville, we still had men dying up there. We had about 3 or 4 a year. What they would do is actually shut the whole mine down if somebody got killed in the mine, let everybody kind of regroup, we'd all come back to work and then pick up where we left off. But it still happens today. We've heard of these on the news about the coal mines where they catch on fire. And I wouldn't want to work in a coal mine.
Do these independents, do they like lease this access and then they're allowed to take all the mineral or gold that they get out of it, or?
Like the Angle gold mine up here that's doing the strip mining, they do not own any of that property, they just lease it. So if we had a mining claim up there, they would actually pay us to lease our mining claim.
Now, if you own the ground above here, do you own the rights to the minerals below it?
Right. If you have the surface rights to the minerals, you own everything.
But when you go horizontally here, how do you know that you're not going into somebody else's?
That's a good question. The skip we came down on, they put a survey pin, because compasses don't work down here. They put a survey pin and actually measure over and get pretty close. If we actually got on somebody else's mining claim, we'd be claim jumping.
If you follow a drift and then you get to the end of your property, you have to stop, or?
Well, I don't know if I would or not. You know, if it was a good running vein, I'd just keep running with it until somebody told me to. But that was probably a very big problem with them, you know. Hopefully you could get up with your neighbor and say, hey, I've been following this drift. You know, it's running pretty good. What do you think? Let's cut it 50-50.
Yeah,
so.
okay.
And then he comes up later on and says, nah, I changed my mind. I just want it all. Crosscut that comes from the black diamond. In the year, what was the seventh month, the 7th day of 1937, there was a feud going on between the two mines. And on that day, 7 men died from CO2 poisoning on the 7th level of this mine because the miners were mad at the guys over here and shut the doors down here on the San Cristo tunnels and actually killed them all. So that was like, well, you know, it was happening, you know. Probably somebody got into some detection of CO2, which is carbon dioxide. That light will go out, that lamp will go out. That tells us there's danger. CO2, we can't smell it, see it, or taste it. So if we walk into it, there's no air into it, boom, we're down on the floor because it just takes your breath away. And I've been in that situation where I couldn't breathe. The best thing to do is turn around and back out of it. You don't want to go on any farther. We hang this light, we actually bring this down before anybody even comes down here in the day. We bring it down and hang it here. It's still burning, so we know there's good air down here. You can actually feel the flow through here. But in this 10th level, for some reason, the molly stope in this area will actually start, the CO2 is heavy, it'll actually start floating around on the floor. If that lamp was to go out, we'd actually raise it up to this other ring. If it was to go out there, we'd want to get out of here as quick as we could because there's a danger of a carbon dioxide. Now, that was a big problem with all these, especially these deep mines. You'd go down in a deep mine, the deeper you go, the more higher concentration of CO2 that you could run into. Now, the old miners used canaries when they first started out. So there was 150 saloons in Cripple Creek, 79 lawyers, 49 doctors, and I'd say at least 20 canary shops.
Wow.
So, okay, we'll go supervise them what they were going to do. Other miners call it the Hard Rock Cafe. You were going to take your lunch here. Now, like the Portland mine, they actually had donkeys that lived underground to pull their ore carts. In 41, Roosevelt came out here to visit all these mines. He seen what was going on, passed a law that said each donkey every day had to go up for an hour to get daylight and fresh air. Well, the miners got sick and tired of trying to get them up to skips. They just let them all go. So if you see some donkeys in Cripple Creek, there's the descendants of the ones they let go here probably 60, 70 years ago. They started this shaft. Today, we're very fortunate. Charlie's running the hoist today. Now, you probably see me pull the rope. What I'm doing is communicating with Charlie in the hoist house because he can't hear me or see me. We're 1,000 feet below him. What that does is that rope actually pulls, I pull that rope, it rings a bell, and there's a light that flashes. So, all right, there he is flashing me right there. He's got a roof ready to go.
Oh my.
Yep, that's for,
Yeah, I know.
taking them out.
Okay, but this is a very important tool that is still used in every mine around the world today. It's a bell signal chart. Now, J.W. Stonehouse invented this because he came out here to visit his brother. His brother got killed in a mining accident while he was out here. So he sat down and he figured this all out, and it's still used today. Now, you imagine me working in the shaft, and they dropped a skip down on me, and here it comes, and I don't even know it's coming because I'm working. You know, I'm gone. So this is a very important tool, and we still use it today in all mines. I was watching a salt mine out in Kansas, and they kind of had a different system for their bells, but basically it's the same. So if nobody has any questions, they're ready to take this up. So if we want to ride, we'll just go ahead and get on it. The people that were with me, what I need you to do is actually go out, and when I open the chain here, if you'll go out, here we go. Charlie's a good man on the hoist. He's been doing it for like 30 years. Okay, here we go.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell for future videos. Thank you.